welcome back to Chelsea Bakes. So today we're actually going to make a recipe straight off of the wonderful and awesome Pinterest. So it's going to be a very Pinteresting day. This is going to be a recipe on the fly. So this is the first time I'm making this recipe and you guys are seeing it live. So we're gonna see how this goes. We're going to make berries and cream cupcakes with spring just having sprung. I thought it would be great to incorporate one of my favorite springtime treats, berries, into one of my other favorite sweet treats, cupcakes. So these are going to be a delicious vanilla cupcake stuffed with a cream frosting and then on top a buttercream berry frosting. So let's get started. So we're gonna take a look at this recipe here. It says for the dry ingredients for the cupcake batter, you're gonna wanna start out with a cup and 1/4 of all-purpose flour. So we already have that in the bowl ready to go. Next up, we are going to add a cup of sugar. So let's get that cup of sugar in here. So this is just regular white sugar. Add that to your flour. Set the sugar aside, and now we're going to add a half a teaspoon of baking powder. So we have our baking powder, half a teaspoon. And here you can also opt to add a pinch of salt, but I usually try to leave salt out of my recipes unless it's 100% necessary because I'm not a huge salt fan. So we're gonna leave that out today. And then you just kind of want to mix up those dry ingredients. All right, so you have your dry ingredients for the cupcake batter. You want to set that aside. And we're going to add, it looks like the recipe calls for 1 egg. And then 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Let's see here. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Almond. That's the raspberry. Now we have the vanilla. I usually just eyeball the vanilla extract when I put it in recipes, but for the purposes of this recipe today, with it being a new one, we'll go ahead and add the exact measurement. 1 teaspoon. And then you're going to want to mix up the vanilla extract, the vegetable oil, and the egg. Just want to beat them on a low speed just until they're combined, starting to form just like a soft peak. So now that you have the egg, vegetable oil, and the vanilla extract combined, you're going to want to mix that in with your dry ingredients. Just a little bit more in there. And then lastly, for the batter, you need to add 1/4 cup of hot water. So you're gonna wanna add again the 1/2 cup of hot water. And you want to add that slowly while you're still mixing the ingredients. So gradually combine the water in. And you can see it's starting to form more of a batter as opposed to a dough. Before adding the hot water, it looks kind of like a dough. So you want to make sure that's mixed up pretty well. So it looks like that's ready to go and get poured into your muffin tin or your cupcake liners. And also you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for this recipe and bake them for 15 to 17 minutes, depending on your oven. So to make this a little bit easier to distribute into the cupcake liners, I'm going to pour it into a little glass measuring cup that has a pour on it, so you can just pour it into the cupcake liners. So you might want to use a spoon to kind of catch it so it doesn't run all over the tray, and you want to just fill them up halfway as with a normal cupcake batter. So now you're all set. Just pop those cupcakes into the oven for 15 to 17 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright guys, now we're going to make the berry frosting, berry infused frosting. So you're going to want to actually use a cup of unsalted butter, or that would be 2 sticks. So we got lots of butter in this recipe. That's okay, that's what makes the icing good. Calories don't count in the spring, by the way. So you're going to just want to mix up the softened butter a little bit so it's a creamy consistency. So again, this recipe's on the fly, so we're gonna see how it turns out. Next, you're gonna wanna add about 1/4 cup of muddled raspberries. You can use strawberries too. And then just a little dusting of freeze-dried strawberries. And you can find those in the aisle by the dried fruit, or like the apple chips. And then next, we're going to add a couple drops of raspberry extract. So maybe I would do about a teaspoon of the vanilla Jeez, come on guys, the raspberry extract. And then next, it does call for some milk here. Let's see how much. So, it says we need to add 3 to 4 tablespoons of milk. I would probably go more towards the 4 side for a frosting. That's what I typically use in my frosting when we make the sugar cookies. And then about a half a bag of powdered sugar. You can add more powdered sugar if you find that it's a little bit too runny or not thick enough. Also, you can add in milk. Accordingly too if it's too thick and you need to make it a little bit smoother. Smelling good. Look at that, that's turning out delicious. So I actually would probably recommend also adding a little bit of pink gel food dye to it if you like the color to be a little bit more vibrant like I do myself. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of the pink gel in there. Again, just use it sparingly because sometimes gel can make icing a little bit runny. Look at that, it's a pretty pink color, it smells good. And we're not stopping here, we're actually going to make the filling too. So you'll want to set that aside, and then next up we're going to make the filling. All right, so the cupcakes are ready. They look delicious. All right guys, so now we're going to make the cream cheese filling for the cupcakes. So you're gonna wanna use 3 ounces of cream cheese. That's about half of an 8 ounce, so just a little bit less than half the 8 ounce container of cream cheese that you can find at the store. Again, a little less than half. I don't typically like to measure exactly for my recipes. And then we're going to use half a cup of heavy whipping cream. And then about a teaspoon of almond extract. This cupcake is just going to be bursting with flavors. And then about a half a cup to a cup of powdered sugar. You might need to add a little bit more. You can kind of just check the consistency. You don't want it to be too runny, but also not too thick. And these cupcakes, you have to refrigerate them until you're ready to serve because they do have the heavy whipping cream and the cream cheese. So just plan accordingly. I would probably add a little bit more powdered sugar to that. It's a little thicker. All right, so now you have your filling. Now we're gonna assemble these puppies. All right guys, so now we're gonna fill up our piping bags with, first I'm gonna start with the filling for the cupcake. So I just did like an open tip for this because it doesn't need to be pretty. You're just filling up the cupcakes. This is just the filling. So you wanna put a little bit of that in your piping bag. If you need more, you do already have all the ingredients and there's leftover like cream cheese and whipping cream, so you should have enough to make another batch of this if you need to. So next, you're going to want to fill the next piping bag, and I kind of just use like the star swirl tip. You want to fill this with the actual frosting. And when you muddle your berries, make sure they're completely crushed up, because if not, then you might have issues with the icing going through the piping tip. I've done that before when I made mango cupcakes, kind of made it difficult. All right, so now we're gonna assemble one of these. Also, fresh berries for garnish at the end. It's another good treat. So, to get the filling in, you can either just poke a hole in with like a knife or the back end of a spoon, but I have this melon scooper, so I kind of just want to scoop out the center, kind of be gentle. You can either put the top back on or just leave it off since you're covering it with icing anyways, but that's just your preference. So you want to fill that up a little bit, in the middle with the filling, and then you're going to decorate the top with the pink frosting. So we'll just test out our tip here. So we've got our cupcake here. We'll garnish it with a little berry, maybe a raspberry, and we'll do a little blueberry too. And there you have it. Now the final test is to taste it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this on-the-fly Pinteresting recipe today. It was something a little bit different. So happy spring.